Welcome to Temple Beth Israel Longboat Keys, first Shabbat message by Zoom. This has been pre-recorded, and Rabbi Sniderman is joined through Zoom by Ann and Kai, who will be providing music. Please bear with us as we learn this new to us technology.
Thank you for joining us, if join is the right word. We're together and we're not together. In a few moments, we're going to be singing Hinei Ma Tovu Manayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Shevet Achim Gam Yachad is translated brothers and sisters dwelling together, but more literally sitting together. Unfortunately, right now, in order to save lives, we don't sit together literally. But may there be some sort of spiritual connect where we imagine we are sitting together literally, and that we're all together in the same place, at least in our minds and our hearts. We continue with the singing of Hinei Ma Tov Umanayim. Let me read from page 9 of Mishkan Tefillah, something we are all familiar with. There are days when we seek things for ourselves and measure failure by what we do not gain. On Shabbat, we seek not to acquire, but to share. There are days when we exploit nature as if it were a horn of plenty that can never be exhausted. On Shabbat, we stand in wonder before the mystery of creation. There are days when we act as if we cared nothing for the rights of others. On Shabbat, we remember that justice is our duty and a better world our goal. So we embrace Shabbat, day of rest, day of wonder, day of peace. Let me read you in English translation 2 Shabbat-oriented sections from our service, and after that we will sing Yismachu. First, in translation, V'shamru, the people of Israel shall keep Shabbat, observing Shabbat throughout the ages as a covenant for all time. It is a sign for all time between me and the people of Israel. For in 6 days the Eternal One made heaven and earth, and on the 7th day God ceased from work and was refreshed. A translation of Yismachu. Those who keep Shabbat by calling it a delight will rejoice in your realm. The people that hallow Shabbat will delight in your goodness. For being pleased with the 7th day, you hallowed it as the most precious of days, drawing our attention to the work of creation. We now sing Yismachu.
Shabbat.
Some comments relevant to this Shabbat and to the challenges we are facing at this time. As you know, this is the Shabbat immediately before Passover. It has a special name, Shabbat HaGadol. Interestingly enough, many people mistranslate that and think it says the Great Sabbath. That wouldn't be Shabbat HaGadol, that would be HaShabbat HaGadol. Shabbat HaGadol means Sabbath of the Great. Now, what is the Great? There is a special Haftorah for this day, and I am going to read to you the end of it. From the 3rd chapter of Malachi, I'm going to read verse 23, then verse 24, and since verse 24 ends on somewhat of a negative note, traditionally, we would then repeat verse 23. Lo, I will send the prophet Elijah to you before the coming of the awesome, fearful day of the Lord. He shall reconcile parents with children and children with parents, so that when I come, I do not strike the whole land with utter destruction. And then repeating, and I'm going to read it now, this last section in Hebrew first and then in English. Hine anochi sholech lachem et Eliah Hanavi. Behold, I send the prophet to you. Lifnei bo, before the coming. Yom Adonai Hagadol v'Hanora, before the coming of the great and fearful, awesome day of the Lord. Passover commemorates liberation from slavery. On Passover, we always look forward to a great liberation in the future. We have always tried to make Passover relevant. And when we speak of Mitzrayim, of Egypt, it's not just Egypt, but every other country where we have suffered. And this year, we can understand the suffering as the suffering of this horrible virus that is attacking so many of us. The great liberation this year may be the end of this horrible medical threat. Let us all pray that that comes speedily in our day. As in the past and the present, our people prayed for the liberation of our people from oppression. So we pray that all people be liberated from the oppression of the coronavirus. It's not a matter of one people versus another. It's not a matter of one patriotism against another. The entire world has to get together and work together. And if children and parents and children can reconcile, it means that everyone can reconcile, ideally, and work together to solve this problem, not making it an issue of conflict between one group or another, or one political party or another, or who gets the center stage at the press conference. It's a matter of solving a very serious issue. Our religious heritage tells us of the value and importance of life, and certain commandments and certain requirements are set aside in order to save a life. For that reason, we at Temple Beth Israel and most other congregations throughout the world are not having public worship service together on this Shabbat. Tragically, the guidelines for social distancing that we have read about do not include religious gatherings. I can't imagine that. but I know there are places of worship where there is the clear intent for everybody to get together and pray this away. You can pray this away by praying that you have the insight and the intelligence to stay away from other people, to keep your distance, and that way to try to reduce the risk. It is a very interesting time. I think we are seeing in front of our eyes a major revolution, and I'll restrict it to Jewish life, and more particularly modern liberal Jewish life, where we have entered the world of virtual services, virtual seders, using technology that we never thought we'd have to use before. Is this comparable to the invention of printing, where everyone was able to have his or her own Siddur prayer book? Now we can see what is in our prayer book, not just in the printed book, the one I have in front of me, but online. We are entering an entirely new world, a new world that from a Jewish perspective, and anyone interested in Jewish history, is phenomenal. For I've said on many occasions, we're still dealing with, Jewishly in a sense, resisting the invention of printing. So we do our formal scriptural reading from a scroll, written by hand on parchment, the way it's been done for generations. Maybe the printed book will one day gain that kind of special sanctity where hardly anyone will have one and they will be put in special places. The printed book made our words more accessible to more people. The kind of communications we have now also open up worlds for new people. Let me share a couple of interesting experiences I have had in the past few days talking to people about virtual seders. The plague does not cancel Passover. We have Passover no matter what we do. Our religious tradition has never told us it's an all or nothing business. People gathered together and did the best they could for seders in the most difficult of times. There's the joke going around that Elijah will have to come to us via Zoom. That's a joke. I spoke to somebody the other day, and she does not quite know what to do. She's isolated in her own place. She cannot get the things that she would like to have for a Seder. She thinks she'll be able to participate in what we record and make available on YouTube and Facebook. But she mentioned in passing that she has a nice Seder plate. So I said, put the Seder plate on your table. Even if you can't put anything on it, you're going one step in a direction, and in a way, we can only do what we can do. That is what we've done through history. When all of this is over and we can return to normal, I think it will be a new normal. I think our congregation and all congregations will be revolutionized by the new technology that we have. May we be given the strength and the courage not to give up at this time, to do our best, to connect in the ways that we have available to us, to refashion our forms of Jewish expression at this time, keeping in mind that there are precedents for times when we couldn't get together in families for Seders, where what we needed for the Seder was not available, but we continued anyway, doing everything we could. I hope these Shabbat messages can extend to all of us a sense of that hope, where we tap inspiration from our history. Our people went through horrors and did not give up, and did not give up their religious practices. At the same time, we have developed ways of dealing with what others would seem to think would be impossible. This has not been an easy time for our congregation. Tragically, we lost one of our most significant members just the other day. For those of you who join me in praying for those who are ill, in praying for those who are helping those who are ill, we also remember all of us who are in a strange sense of mourning. I don't have the latest date on all the latest information on what is happening. I spoke to Alana's son last night, and efforts are being made to transport Earl's body up to Binghamton, New York, where he wanted to be buried. I am amazed and pleased that that can be possible. I'll be happier when I know it in fact happens. The time between death and burial is never easy. We think of all the wonderful things that Earl did for our congregation and what a horrible and painful loss it is to all of us. We ask at this time that our prayers be acceptable to God. And in that mood, we continue with the singing of something that most of our congregants just love, and that is Ritzeh. Before we pray for those who are ill, let us offer a prayer of thanksgiving on behalf of those people who went through illnesses in the past few days and weeks and are now feeling better. May the one who bestowed goodness upon us continue to bestow every goodness upon us forever. We pause for a moment and offer special prayers for those whose health is challenged at this time. We mention in particular Alana Gordon, George Bardos, Morton Skirbo, Peter Roth, Merrill Goldman, Andrew Lerman, Eileen Egan, Marvin Black, Maggie Brenner, Joshua Haran, Ruth Engman, Dorothy Jacobson, B. Einstein, and Ralph Einstein. And I'm going to pause for a few minutes so you can say, and say it out loud, the names of people you know who are ill at this time. We continue with the Misha Berach, and let us all sing together.
the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say,
And also a very special prayer for those who are helping those who are ill in all kinds of varieties of professions, called to the front line of duty, putting themselves at risk. May they be protected. We pause also to pray for those who are no longer with us. When we mention the recently departed with great sorrow and pain, we mention Earl Gordon. We also remember on our recently departed list Everett Berendt, Teresa Blumberg, Shelva Novitsky, Marlena Frank, Stanley Greisman, Beverly Simon, Gilbert Ankowitz, Judith Markstein, Jerry Rosenberg. And we remember those whose yahrzeits occur at this time: Belle Alexander, Mary Alper, Samuel Barron, Edna Bikoff, Celia Briefer, Esther Cohn, Arnie Feinberg, Naomi Fishman, David Gandel, Milton Jacobson, Sylvan Kaplan, Louis Carmiel, Paul Caution, Stephen Lutkoff, Judge Plotkin, Bernard Polinsky, Ann Radlow, Albert Salk, Philip Satinsky, Gerald Schreiber, Arthur Schreiber, Emmy Solomon, Sarah Strogoff, Bert Struth. And once again, we pause for a moment to mention those names who aren't on the list, and let us take a moment to do so as we say those names. Let me turn now to the Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ba'alma divrach cherutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chaye chon uvyom echon, u'v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, b'gala u'bizman kariv v'imru, Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam olamei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalei v'yitalal shmei dekutsha brichu, le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, damiran v'alma v'imru, Amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shamaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, Amen. May the source of peace grant peace unto those who mourn and comfort the bereaved among us. And let us all say, Amen. Before we conclude, let me announce that it is our intention, and by our, I mean my immediate family, those who are able to be with us physically here this year for Pesach, to have on Wednesday night a Seder in our home. We're going to do something a little more privately the next night. But on Wednesday night, we are going to do our best to record the first part of the Seder, that is the section before the meal. And we're going to do our best to put that on YouTube and on Facebook as well. For those of you who want to, and I'm using a pre-modern term, tune into this, imagine that you are sitting around the table with us, and I will imagine that you are sitting around the table with me. We are going to try to set it up that those of you who view this will only see me, and in your imaginations, think of a long table. This table I'm sitting at right now isn't so long, but imagine a long table with everyone sitting around it. And you won't see anything else, so there's no way of proving me wrong. Imagine that we're all together as one family, and may our days ahead be easier days. We are going to continue now with the singing of Ha'er Einenu. May the Eternal One bless us by protecting us. Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May the light of the Eternal One shine upon you, and may the Eternal One be gracious to you. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chonecha. May you feel the presence of the Eternal One within you always, and may you find peace. Yisa Adonai panav elecha. V'yasem lecha shalom. Shabbat shalom. Good Shabbos. Be healthy. Thank you.